Now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for October 20th. Well, here we are, another day in the wide world of tropics, and it is yet again quiet, with no tropical cyclones active on this 20th day of October. 81 storms remains the storm count for this year so far worldwide. 92 storms is the average, of course. It's day 142 of Atlantic hurricane season, and it remains dead in the Atlantic, and has been the case ever since Sam died. No new storms have formed so far this month in the slightest, and it could be seen this be the most inactive October since 2007. In the Eastern Pacific, here's what it looks like here. It's day 158 of the season at this point, and that area of interest that we've been watching now has a 70% chance of forming into a tropical cyclone, 10 in the next 48 hours. So we'll see what goes on with that specific area of interest. In the Western Pacific, we did have that area of interest that we were tracking near the Philippines, but model support has massively dropped on that one, so it is back to being 0% chance pretty much, and just in there with the map, I suppose. There are model support with another thing to the east, though, south of the Mariana Islands, however. In the North Indian Ocean, there's nothing going on here as well. It's all quiet as well. Nothing really to speak of, and nothing forming in the next 5 days either. That brings us over to our track forecast, but once again, there are no systems active to track because, of course, there is nothing that is going to be, forming in the next 2 hours. And now that we are going with officials, we really can't do a track forecast until it really becomes a tropical cyclone to begin with. Other than that, we are really just making predictions at this point. But as of right now, nothing is going to be forming much in the next 48 hours, more than likely. Here we are in the Atlantic satellite imagery, and you can see what's going on here. A lot of extratropical cyclones pretty much dominating much of the Atlantic at this point. In the main development region, there's really not much going on, period. And in the Caribbean, there are some showers and thunderstorms near Honduras and Belize there. But other than that, nothing really to know. In the Eastern Pacific, you can see what's going on here. Multiple disturbances, but nothing really that's going to be developing into a tropical cyclone anytime soon. Of course, that area of interest that we're going to be watching will probably fade into the screen soon in about a day or two. In the Western Pacific, you can see what's going on here. Some messy activity going on to the east of the Mariana Islands at the moment. Other than that, it is really not much to speak of in terms of any kind of activity in the Western Pacific. You can see an interesting thing to the south of Japan there, bringing some cloud cover to parts of eastern China as well as eastern Japan as well. In the North Indian Ocean, there's really not much going on here. We did have that little storm system that did bring some rainy weather across parts of India and Bangladesh. Now it's pretty much just the monsoon season as usual, as well as the dry air continuing in the Arabian Sea. Of course, we don't have any storms to focus on still, nor invest, so that brings us to the real threat to society, the Seychelles. Of course, we are going to be monitoring them for any potential threats that they may provide us in the near future. Alright, looking at the sea surface temperatures, you can see what's going on over here. 27 to 29 degrees Celsius temperatures in the Eastern Pacific. It's around 27 to 29 where that area of interest is going to be developing. In the Atlantic, it's still around 27 to 28, the Gulf of Mexico, but slowly cooling. Caribbean's around 28 to 29, and much of the main development region is slowly cooling around 27 to 28 degrees Celsius at this time. And in the Gulf Stream, we're still watching those temperatures slowly decline as well as we get towards the end of the season next month. In the Bay of Bengal, it's around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius throughout the majority of the basin. And in the Arabian Sea, it's around 27 to 29 degrees Celsius here. In the Western Pacific, you can see what's going on here. It's around 27 to 29 degrees Celsius. Some areas around 30 degrees Celsius to the east of the Philippines and near the equator. And as you head into the southern hemisphere, you can see what's going on here, with much of those temperatures still a bit subpar for what you would typically expect for any kind of activity to flourish here. In terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies, you can see what's going on. The La Nina continuing to develop and become more pronounced. The Atlantic looking above average. Same thing with the Eastern Pacific. The Western Pacific and the North Indian Ocean. The Central Pacific is still stuck being below average. Well, that brings us over to the on this day. In 2004, we had Typhoon Tokage, which was making a landfall on Japan, while there was also Typhoon Nok 10, which would eventually become a Category 3 typhoon as it headed westward. Other than that, there was no activity in any of the other basins to really speak of. Of course, you can find more of our on this day products powered by Cyclone History. You can find more about Tokage when they release their blip about it tomorrow at Cyclone History. Well, that brings us over to the next names. In the Atlantic, the next two names remain, Wanda followed by Adria. In the Eastern Pacific, the next two names we're looking out for are Rick and Sandra. And in the Central Pacific, while Chucky may want to be our friends, we don't want to play anymore, we just want Hone. Moving on over into the Western Pacific, the next two names here are Malo followed by Nieto. And in the North Indian Ocean, the next two names here are Jawad followed by Asani. Going on over into the Southern Hemisphere, the next two names in the Southwestern Indian Ocean are Anna followed by Betsy Ray. In the Australian region, we're looking out for Patty and Ruby. And in the South Pacific, it's Cody. We'll be back from the Truck Weather Bulletin tomorrow night.